Hello. Today I'm going to talk about what dispositions and traits teachers should have, and the ones that will aid me personally in my teaching career, as well as the dispositions that I believe I need to work on before I begin teaching, and what qualities should personal educators have. The first disposition I possess that I think will make me successful is my compassion and ability to put myself in someone else's shoes. I've always been attuned with how people are feeling to a point of being able to deduce it by their demeanor or how they're acting. To be a teacher, I believe it is imperative that you are able to connect with your students, and part of that comes from compassion. It helps them feel safe and will make their learning journey much smoother if they feel as if they're understood. The second disposition I believe will make me successful in my teaching career is my ability to reflect on my decisions, almost to a fault. I analyze everything I do and have done. After I make a decision, no matter how small it is, I tend to dwell and decide whether I did it right or wrong. And if it's an ongoing problem, I will analyze and adjust my course accordingly. I think part of it comes from anxiety of doing something wrong, but it is a useful skill and has helped me in more than one occasion. I think if a teacher is going to be effective at their job, then they should be able to look into the mirror and adjust their actions to the needs of the class instead of thinking they're doing everything right. If a student is having trouble in your class, then you should find out the problem and adjust your planner to help him and see if it may be how you're presenting it. One of the main dispositions I believe I need to work on is my dedication. Not to say I'm not ambitious, but my ADHD kicks in and I find it difficult to stay on one task. If I am to be a teacher, I need to set my sights on something and dedicate my very being to seeing it through. That can relate to having a class planner and all the students are catching on quite well, but a few are having trouble. I guess it kind of dances with the empathy disposition a bit in this scenario. Even if most or all of the students are catching on, I must dedicate the allotted time to cover that topic fully. Maybe there is something that they don't fully understand or something someone may find interesting. The second disposition I believe that I need to work on is my lack of high expectations. I tend to set believable goals and sometimes downright easy ones. I think it comes from my insecurity to fail. If the expectations are low, then I'm less likely to disappoint myself or those around me. I understand that I will not grow if I don't challenge myself and persevere, which this may translate to teaching style and affect my classroom in a negative way. I have to set high expectations for myself and my future students if I and my students are to become the best we can be. Everyone will benefit from this way of thinking. The qualities I believe a good teacher should display is easy, ability to communicate effectively, and patience. Those are the defining two in my eyes. You require the ability to communicate effectively, whether that be directions for an assignment or simply just conversing with students. You have to talk and connect with the students. You don't just want to be a robot and hand out papers for them to complete. That takes the human element away when it is needed the most. I speak from experience. I had a few teachers where they just handed out papers and left you to your devices. One in particular, sure, he answered questions but was absent most of the class, leaving after he gave the assignment to all of the students and came back just before the bell rang. Or, if he was there, scrolling mindlessly on his laptop looking through sports material or professional teams that he was interested in. The other being patience is also needed. All students learn at different speeds. Myself, I am a slow learner. It takes a few times for me to get it down. I learn better from demonstrations. I am a visual learner after all. I always hated when a teacher would speed over something and not elaborate further, or act annoyed when I had a question. Again, I have experience with that, as I'm sure we've all had one teacher like this. My geometry teacher had no time to talk about anything. She would demonstrate on the board and that would be that. If you asked her about anything that she just wrote on the board, she would accuse you of not paying attention. I always loved math and was good at it, but I still need to see it a few times to truly understand how it's done. Ironically, geometry was my best form of math, not because of the teacher. I could only take being humiliated a few times before I stopped asking questions and simply just wrote down what was on the board. And when I got home or had a study hall, I would attempt to understand it on my own. Because of that, I ended up getting the second highest grade on the final exam, not because of how well the teacher explained it, but because of my own ability. That's just an example, but it gets my point across.